All right, let's begin. We are studying the laws of Lashon Harah. Hope everyone had a nice Pesach. If anyone's curious, I heard ShopRite is totally empty. But they have some kosher stuff left, I heard. That's discounted from Pesach. Okay, we are on Hilchos Lashon Harah, Klal Dalet Sif Hey, which is 5, chapter 4, halacha number 5. We were talking about last time, if you see someone do a sin, what are the halachas if you see someone do a sin? So we said that even if it's a sin which is known to be a sin, let's say eating bacon or having an affair, something really, really bad, but you know that in general this person is a good person, just he seems to have slipped up, what you have to do is you have to go to him privately and talk to him about what he did and lovingly give him rebuke. And we have to assume that maybe he did tshuva, he repented, it was just a small lapse of judgment, and we're not allowed to say something negative about him, even though we saw him doing something, an egregious sin, right? You saw him committing adultery while eating bacon, right? Very bad, not approved by the Torah. Definitely not allowed to say that. Now we're going to talk about a different case. What if the same thing happens, you see someone doing an egregious sin, but he's not the type of person that will respond well if you rebuke him? We all know people like that if you try to tell them, I think you were maybe doing the wrong thing, then they'll get very angry. I don't know if anyone's had the experience of ever being in a synagogue and asking someone to be quiet. Very often it doesn't go well. Okay, so let us continue. Aval, imhu roeh she'achotehu mehavilim haleitzim hasonim lamochichim. You see this guy, he did an egregious sin, but he's a type of person that hates when people rebuke him. Kedichsiv, al tuchach leitz pen yisnaecha. It says, do not rebuke a scoffer, lest he hate you. Somebody who just makes jokes of everything, doesn't take the Torah seriously, and if you rebuke him, he's just going to make a joke out of it, then you should not rebuke him, because he might come to hate you. He's not going to listen to you. But people like this, very common that they're just going to go and sin again. It's just going to happen that he's going to sin again. Al kain tov lahem sheyagidu l'danahir. So what should you do? You should tell the judges in the city. Back in the day, right? Even now we have a bezdin. It was more structured where one city would have one bezdin. I know Baltimore has something like that. There's the Baltimore bezdin, and you have judges, religious judges, rabbinical judges in the city that are in charge of the halachic rulings of that city and the court cases. So the Chavetz Chaim says you should go and tell those people that they should try to get him not to sin alavono. They should warn him v'yafrishuhu me'a'iser alahaba. Now, you should go to the judges of the city, right? You're just a normal guy, so if you go up to him and say, I don't think you should be doing that, he's just going to laugh at you. He's not a very serious person. But if you go to the judges of the city, it's a little bit differently when you get a call from the rabbinical court that we heard you were doing something very inappropriate and you have to stop now. That's a very serious matter. So that is a big difference. So again, if it's a person who will listen to you, a regular guy, then you should tell him yourself, speak to him yourself, that you shouldn't be doing this avera. But if it's somebody who is but someone that doesn't take rebuke lightly and he is just going to get angry with you and he's a letz in general, then you should tell the judges of the city. Now with the common denominator is you're not allowed to go speak Lashon Harah and tell other people. He continues about this person who's the letz, who doesn't take rebuke seriously. V'nira, dehu adin l'kroivav shel achayte, im divrei yu miskablim lo, v'ayim beber ma'im chayim. Or you can go to a relative of this person so that the relative can rebuke him. Right, the guy's not going to listen to you, but perhaps he'll listen to his relative. Now the Chavetz Chaim has a caveat in the Ber Ma'im Chaim. He says you have to be very, very careful when going to a relative, because most of the time, if you go to someone's relative and say they were doing something wrong, they're going to side with their relative and they're not going to believe you. So you're only allowed to go to the relative if you know, or if there's a likelihood that he's going to listen to you and he's actually going to rebuke this person. Again, the whole goal here is to get the sinner to stop doing his sinful behavior. So you only should go to the relative to rebuke him if there is a likelihood that he's going to believe you and going to rebuke his relative. Now he adds another thing. When you're doing this, your intent. What do you have? You have intent. Your intent in your mind has to be l'shem shemaim. You're doing it for God. V'kinas Hashem. You're doing this because there's somebody who's not following the Torah, and you want people to follow the Torah. Lo b'sinasa lo al davar acher. You can't do it because you hate this guy because of something else he did, right? There's somebody you hate, you had a fight with, you had a business falling out with, a relationship you don't get along, and he does a sin. So you go to his relative and say, oh, you know what he did? Not allowed to do that. You're only allowed, your kavana, your intent has to be that I want to help this person follow the Torah the way he's supposed to. And the judges of the city, when they rebuke him, they do it privately. They don't do it in public. You have to rebuke your people. Now, another important caveat about if you're going to the judges of the city, that's only if two people see him do the sin. But if it's only one person, lo yeid al chaveru ki edusu chinam lefi she'ein somchen alei kama shekasav lo yikem eid echad b'ish l'chol avon l'chol chatas l'chein motzi shem ra yichashiv v'amru rabbi Yosef kol ameid yichidi ha-chaveru b'dvar avera. We mentioned this earlier, that when you go in front of a rabbinical court, you can only go in front of a court if there's two witnesses, because the Torah only believes two witnesses for these types of things. So if you just go by yourself, Beis Din is not allowed to believe you. The judges of the city aren't allowed to believe you if it's just you. So you can't go to the judges of the city if it's only you. You could go with somebody else. V'amru Chazal, Gimel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So there are three that God hates. One of the people that God hates is somebody who sees his friend do something inappropriate, a davar erva, and he goes in front of Beis Din by himself to testify. Right? God hates that person because there's absolutely nothing that Beis Din can do when it's only one person. It has to be two people. However, but you're allowed to go to this person's rebbe or his rabbi because that doesn't have the status of a Beis Din. If you know the rabbi is going to believe you. Kedivrei shnei edim. Umuter l'rabo lisna also. Over that, ulisratik mechaburaso ad asher yadei lo shav medarka hara aval asul l'rabo l'saper davar zel acherim to la'adif me'imra be'atzmo k'ma shekasav l'el b'sif daled. He writes that to go in front of the judges of the city, that you need two people, because of a special halacha in Beis Din that if you go in front of the judges of the city, you need to have two people. However, if it's only you, just you by yourself, then you're allowed to go to his rebbe, his Torah teacher, or his rabbi, and you could say, there's somebody in your congregation that I saw do something very inappropriate, so I think you should reprimand him. So that you're allowed to do, but again, only if the rabbi is going to believe you. So you have to always judge the situation. And he says the rabbi is even allowed to hate him. You're allowed to hate an evil person. So you're allowed to hate somebody. He has the status, it sounds, of an evil person until he repents. It says the rabbi is allowed to hate his congregant who's doing this sin until he repents. And he says, but the rabbi is not allowed to tell anybody. The rabbi has to keep it to himself and only reprimand this person. Again, the idea here is, the goal is to get these people, the sinners, to repent. So if we talked earlier last week, if the person is the type of person who will listen to you and listen to rebuke, then you should speak to him privately. If he's not that type of person, if you have two people, you can go to the judges of the city. But probably what's more likely is if it's just you saw this person do this horrible sin, then you should go to his rabbi or his relative, only if you know that they'll believe you, so that the rabbi or the relative could reprimand this person. But also the common denominator is that these people can't tell anybody else. The goal, again, is just to rebuke them so they correct their ways, but we're not allowed to publicize what they did. Venerally, halacha vav, he says, even if the rabbi is the type of person that is going to go and tell other people, and he's not going to keep it to himself, let's say the following situation. This guy that did this sin, the chances are, if no one speaks to him, he's going to keep doing it. The only option you have is to speak to his rabbi, but unfortunately his rabbi doesn't always keep things to himself, which is obviously a very bad quality in a rabbi. But this particular person, this rabbi, not everyone's perfect. There's a likelihood that he's going to tell people. But you also know that this rabbi, the sinner, is going to listen to him. The rabbi will have a positive effect. So he says, even in this case, it's possible that you're allowed to let the rabbi know to get the sinner to stop doing the sin. And the Chavetz Chaim continues, Va'ata nachzor le'inyanenu, hanal da'afilu imra'o shnayim be'es asiyas achet, Even if you saw two people, even if two people saw this guy sinning, and there's a likelihood that he's going to sin again, you're still only allowed to tell the judges of the city, and not other people, what we mentioned already. Why? We only saw him do this sin one time. Maybe his Yetzer Hara overtook him. Right? There's nobody in the world that's perfect. We all sin. Right? We all do sins. And he says maybe this guy, he just sinned and his Yetzer Hara overcame, and we all have an impulse to do things that we're not supposed to. So he did something that was very bad, very, very bad. But after, he repented. And he has bitter heart. So, nevertheless, the person didn't leave Amisecha, part of the Jewish people. We're going to learn later that there are certain people that are so evil that you're allowed to speak Lashon Hara about them, and you could publicize what they did to anybody in the world, and you could tell everybody how bad they are. But now we're talking about a group of people that they are either in general great people and they'll listen to rebuke, or even if they won't listen to rebuke, they did a sin one time. And this type of person, if they did a sin one time, we can pardon, I just got distracted. If they did a sin one time, then we can tell the rabbi privately, but we're not allowed to tell other people. And I hope everybody had a lovely Pesach, and hope everyone has a great Shabbos.